Let's imagine a likely rather familiar situation. You're playing a greedy mid-range deck, and you look at your opening hand. You followed all the deck building truthisms, running ramp, card draw, 38 lands, and precisely 8 different pieces of target removal. Look at your opening hand and go, wow, this is a good hand. I have 3 lands, a 1-drop, a mana rock, I can even play my commander on turn 3. But that didn't happen, because your green playing opponent ramped so hard and so fast that you never really got to even play with your commander, because you never even made it to your 4th draw step. I, like many of you, have been in this situation many a time. It can be very easy to ignore this loss as ample luck of the draw, or they just had a good hand. But as you play more and more, you'll notice a recurring pattern and think, why is it always the green player that feels like does this borderline instant win combo? Well, dear viewer, the answer is simple. Green is broken in casual commander. That's the satisfying answer to this question. The answer I propose to you is, you aren't playing enough interaction. Let's go back earlier to the previous scenario. You look at your opening hand, and there! Did you see it? It didn't matter that this hand had a perfect curve and a 1-drop, because you essentially weren't even playing the same game as your opponent. From their point of view, you were simply an enabler for their battle-bound lands to enter untapped. The actual correct play here would be to mulligan until you find a hand that has early plays and interaction. I can't hear the responses to this statement. But sometimes my opponents aren't going to open the snuts. This is fair, but they will sometimes, and you won't have played this game because of it. Followed by, I remove all of my opponent's plays that will dislike playing with me. Dear viewer, it saddens me to hear that your playgroup would dislike you just for not letting them essentially goldfish against you. But I assure you that most people also dislike losing games on turn 3 to 4 consistently, even if it happens every other game, or even every other game. The final response to my previous quandary is, my deck isn't consistent enough to open removal and early plays. And that's the answer to the question. The reason you lost that game, where you had plays in your opening hand, is that you didn't construct your deck in such a way that opening plays early was a likely possibility. To get slightly off topic here, and I assure you this is going to circle around to being relevant in just a moment, Pokemon World Champion Wolf Blank once said, and this was in reference to Pokemon team construction, but it very much applies here. If you lose because your team couldn't have possibly won, then there's something wrong with your team. If your deck can't consistently open early plays and removal, then build a deck that can. Literally every color of deck can run very powerful suites of removal. Here, I'll even give around 5 examples of strong, generic, and cheap removal for each monocolored option now. This by no means is an exhaustive list, and you should always be on the look for powerful options for your deck. White decks are slightly top-heavy when it comes to removal, but I assure you there are plenty of strong options. You can obviously run Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile. Let's not forget Reprieve in a card that I think is a more hipster option, Get Lost. Sure, your opponent will make some map tokens, but usually the modality of getting to destroy a creature, planeswalker, or enchantment is so good that whatever it is you're removing is better than 2 map tokens anyway. For my final recommendation, I'm going to recommend a card that your opponents won't ever expect. A Counterspell. In Mana Tide, that is. Sure, your opponents can just pay the 1 to prevent the counter from resolving, but if you wait until they're out of mana, that isn't really an option. On to Blue. Blue is renowned for its removal options and counterspells like Counterspell, Mana Drain, Negate, and cards like Snap. Let's don't forget a backbreaking card like Reality Shift. A 2-mana exile target card and replacing it with the top card of their library is legitimately better than just exiling it outright sometimes. And I'm going to give you an extra free recommendation here because I front-loaded the blue card section with obviously power spells. A modern all-star in Spell Pierce, I assure you, your opponents will not be able to play around this early game, and in the late game, if it's still an unknown card, it would still be relevant anyway. Black has tons of powerful options for cheap removal, but it is usually somewhat conditional with one exception I'm about to mention. Said exception being Infernal Grasp. But the other powerful options are Go for the Throat, Doomblade, and Baleful Mastery. Baleful Mastery is worth noting as an exceptionally strong early game play, as exiling a combo piece might as well say target player loses the game. My final card recommendation is Dismember. For 1 mana, if you have left to spare that is, essentially kill any mana dork and most 4 mana or less commanders. Red, despite what you might think, actually has some of the best cheap removal options in the entire game. Cards like Lightning Bolt and Shock variants are much better than you think they are if you view them as kill target green players' mana dorks. Examples of such cards are Lightning Bolt obviously, Fiery Impulse, Thunder Magic, Torch the Tower, and Flame Blessed Bolt. Green is tough. Green decks traditionally do not get cheap removal, or really any removal for that matter, but I'll do my best here. Nature's Claim is, while admittedly somewhat conditional, but very powerful way to deal with two very common card types. Return to Nature and Heritage Reclamation are essentially the same card as Nature's Claim. For 1 more mana, you get an extra mode of exiling a card from the graveyard. Finally, this last one is slightly more conditional since you'll need a creature in play, but Ram Through and Infectious Bite are ways to deal with creatures very cheaply and efficiently. That's all I have for card recommendations. If this video inspired you to rebuild the deck, or maybe even helped you tangibly win a game, that makes me more happy than you can probably imagine. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and may your opening hands always contain lightning bolts. Just don't target a Tarmogoyf with 3 toughness unless there's already an instant graveyards. Bye-bye!